Cornbread is one of those dishes that usually doesn't surprise you, but this version made me rethink what cornbread can be. Easy to throw together, packed with flavor, and just indulgent enough to steal the spotlight at the dinner table. This is vegan sweet potato cornbread. Now I know we're excited, but let's talk about what we're gonna need. At least I'm excited about this. Sweet potatoes, non-dairy milk. I prefer soy milk, and we'll talk about that later. Apple cider vinegar, light brown sugar, maple syrup, all-purpose flour, cornmeal, baking powder and baking soda, a neutral flavored oil, optional some vegan butter, and believe it or not, a dash of seasonings. All right, let's start with our sweet potatoes. Line a baking tray with parchment paper and poke holes in your sweet potatoes with a fork. This is gonna let steam escape while they're roasting. Roast in the oven until tender. You'll know it's ready when the skin wrinkles and a fork glides right through. This roasting step caramelizes the natural sugars, giving us a deeper, richer flavor for the cornbread. You could also boil these, which I typically do for more of my sweet recipes like sweet potato pie. This roasting method I use when I'm pairing something with more savory flavors. I like cornbread with like chili or things like that. Once cooled, peel away the skin and drop them into a blender cup. Sweet potatoes can be fibrous and stringy, so blending turns them into a silky, smooth puree. Aim for a custard-like texture with no visible chunks, because that's what gives the cornbread its natural sweetness and extra moisture. Next, let's make our vegan buttermilk. Add soy milk to a large bowl with a splash of apple cider vinegar. Then let sit for just about 10 minutes. The acid here is gonna curdle the protein in the soy milk, giving it that slightly thickened, tangy texture. And yes, it should look a little separated, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, let's nerd out for a sec. Other plant milks work in this recipe, with soy milk being the best choice because of its higher protein content. The protein, it helps create a fluffier, more tender crumb, so the other milks won't give you the same texture or structure within your cornbread. I feel as though I should take a second to explain the crumb. And no, I wasn't referring to the bits that fall off the bread. In baking, the crumb just means the internal texture of the bread or cake or cornbread for, this purpose. A tight crumb equals small uniform holes, say like a pound cake. An open crumb equals, let's say like irregular holes, say like a pizza crust or sourdough. The bigger holes. For cornbread, we want something right in between. Soft inside with just enough structure to hold it together. With our buttermilk ready, whisk in the brown sugar, maple syrup, and sweet potato puree. Mix until completely smooth and uniform. This is the mixture that's going to carry the sweetness and the moisture of our cornbread. Okay, now grab a sifter. Add cornmeal, flour, baking powder, and baking soda. Sifting helps avoid clumps and keeps the crumb light. So once we bang on this a few times and it's completely empty, we're gonna follow all of this up with some salt, and if you're feeling it, add some cinnamon and nutmeg. Now, gently fold the dry into the wet until it's just shy of being combined. We're really trying to prevent overmixing. You can see here, this is one of those recipes I literally just fold, move the batter around a bit, but fold again. Zero mixing. Okay, here's something completely different about this recipe. This is like baking masterclass 101. Well, I guess if it's a masterclass, it might be 208. We don't add the fat in this recipe until the very end. But why? I'm not asking you. I'm just, I'm like pausing. I'll explain. It's just like dramatic. Give me a second. Adding oil and butter later in the recipe prevents the flour from fully hydrating too early. That means a tender crumb instead of a tough one. So fold in your neutral oil and butter now, folding together just until smooth. Transfer the batter into a greased casserole dish. Or you could do the trick I typically do, which is using a hot cast iron skillet. The hot cast iron method results in a firmer crust. If you're into that, you could find that listed on the recipe on my website. The trick here is starting hot, preheating the oven to 425 degrees, and when ready, baking this dish for about 8 minutes at that temperature. That shock of heat makes the batter rise quickly and sets the crust. From there, we don't pull it out. We turn the oven down to 375 degrees to bake through gently for about 18 to 20 minutes. High heat for a lift, low heat so it doesn't dry out. While it bakes, let's make our vegan brown butter maple glaze. In a small pot, melt vegan butter over medium heat. Stirring occasionally, after about 3 to 4 minutes, the color will deepen and give off somewhat of a nutty aroma. And that's how you know it's brown. Pull it off the heat, then whisk in a bit of maple syrup and a pinch of salt. This combo makes a glaze that's rich, glossy, and a tad luxurious. I made a lot of cornbread over the years, but never this way. After this batch, it was me, my wife, the kids, and my best friend, all standing in the kitchen, eating in complete silence. Nobody said a word until it was gone. And I'd say that's a pretty good sign. Take the cornbread out the oven, and while it's still warm, brush the top with some butter, or if you made it, with the vegan brown butter maple glaze. Serve it straight from the skillet, or slice it into squares. Either way, you're getting cornbread that's moist, golden, and a perfect balance of sweetness and savory. Fluffy, moist, and topped with that glaze. This is the type of bread that makes you question if you even need dessert. But I'm still having dessert. I mean, let's not get crazy. The full recipe can be found linked in the description, or head right on over to my website, makeitdairyfree.com. Thank you so much for watching. You rock, you're amazing. I'm not really sure why it just popped in my head, but do you remember that commercial? Like a rock. I don't know where it came from. Anyway, I love you guys. Till next time, believe in good. Peace.